Much has been made in the past week of the method of transportation used for the $100,000 in cash gifted to the NSW Labour Party in 2015 by Chinese businessman Wang Xiangmo. Wang, who, as a developer, is banned as a donor, as well being banned from re-entering Australia, carried the cash into the party's Sussex Street headquarters in an Aldi bag. It's a shame he didn't do it with a little more pomp or glamour, sewing it into the lining of an ermine coat, or perhaps deploying a sedan chair in some way. Because it's not every day you throw around such largesse, is it once delivered, the NSW Labour machine dealt practically with the money. No one spread it on a bed and rolled in it, a la Demi Moore an indecent proposal. ICAC heard that staffer Kenrick she kept it in the Aldi bag and took it home. Did he get the bus? He says Kyla Murnane, who was then Assistant General Secretary, warned him to be careful. Quite right, there are lots of crooks around. Honest Germans at Aldi might have some objections, but I think the sturdy, non-flash Aldi bag mocked by many on social media was very on brand for the Labour Party. It is the party of working people, the party of the battler. Who does it represent, if not the ordinary workers who lug home heavy shopping bags from discount supermarkets, rushing from work to pick up groceries, battling commuter crowds to scrape home in time to collect the kids from school, then, without pause, beginning their evening shift, a bath and dinner, before collapsing into bed to sleep, an honest sleep. And they say the Labour Party has lost its way. NSW Labour, right, of course, is a breed of its own numbers, men, hard men, and women, head kickers. It's a whatever it takes tribe with a ruthless reputation that it deliberately stokes. It has installed prime ministers and pulled them down. It has stacked branches for years. Its alumni have had more mentions at ICAC than they've had dumpling dinners. It is true that both major parties took buckets of money, perhaps literally. We can no longer rule that out from Wang, whose influence, according to the security agencies who eventually barred his application for citizenship, was suspected to be wielded at least in part on behalf of the Chinese state. The Liberal Party got plenty of dough from him, too, slightly more than Labour. Both have taken over $1 million from him. Neither side of politics has stayed dry from its tsunami of cash loosed by wealthy Chinese businessmen, some of whom wish to interfere inappropriately in our democracy. Yet no entity seems to have been more permeable than NSW Labour, dominated by its right wing. Not only did they take the cash bags, but, in the case of former NSW General Secretary turned Senator Sam Dischiori, tipped off their wealthy benefactors that the intelligence agencies were spying on them. There was, of course, another option, saying no. West Australian MP Andrew Hastie, who is very hawkish on Chinese influence, realized last year he had received a $10,000 donation from Wang, delivered by Tony Abbott. He posted the check back to the billionaire. What is astounding about the revelations heard by ICAC this week is how completely out of the question that would have been within the halls of Sussex Street. Kyla Murnane, who was the NSW General Secretary up until her ICAC appearance this week, gave evidence that, in September 2016, she took a phone call from State Upper House MP Ernest Wang. He wanted to meet, and when they did, out the back of Parliament House, he seemed distressed, sweating and shaking. He had said the true source of the $100,000 donation was banned donor Wang, not the 12 punters that the Labour Party had told the Australian Electoral Commission were the source of the money. Some among this supposedly generous dozen were lowly waiters and waitresses. This revelation made Murnane very distressed, according to her evidence. She called her friend Dischiori, upset, for advice. She cried again in the witness box at ICAC. Sweating, shaking, crying. The fact that so much emotional distress was caused by the untoward donation is probably a good sign that the moral compasses involved still knew their north. That didn't mean the compass needle was followed. Murnane kept quiet about the source of the $100,000 donation. She admitted this week she misled the EC over the donation, although not intentionally, she claims. According to her evidence, the Labour Party's lawyer told her to keep quiet and forget her conversation with Wang. The lawyer denies that, and he is set to give evidence this week. The culture she was steeped in, and part of, would not allow for an admission of that sort, a mea culpa. Within NSW Labour, there was no way to send the check back. It is said that in the wake of its devastating federal election result, Labour must use its time in the wilderness to redefine for voters what it stands for. It doesn't take a strategic genius to declare that the brand Labour took to the election was all wrong. So what is Labour's brand now, exactly? An Aldi shopping bag after this week's ICAC unpleasantness, it is doubtful how much the NSW right will be able, or allowed, to participate in Labour's planned renaissance. Last I checked, Labour was supposed to protect and promote the interests of working people. But over decades of Chinese dinners attended by Labour bosses who moonlighted HQ before skipping off to lucrative private sector work with property developers and casinos, NSW Labour seems to have become detached from whatever soul it once had.